Good morning everyone. This is in continuation of the previous video in which we was doing the agriculture practices. The first agriculture practice we have done was preparation of soil. The second agriculture practice is sowing of seeds. Sowing is planting of seeds in the soil. It's a very important part of the crop production. Before sowing, a good quality seeds, clean and healthy seeds of good variety are selected. But how to select good variety of seeds? Take a beaker, fill it half with the water and soak the seeds in it and stir it well. Wait for some time. You will see that some seeds, they will float on the water. The seeds which are floating in the water, they are actually lighter. As you all know, the lighter things, they float on the water. They are lighter because they are hollow from inside. They are hollow from inside, so they become lighter. So they are floating on the water. This is how we can select the good variety of seeds. Sowing is done by two methods. One is broadcasting. The other is by using the seed drill. Seed drill is the implement used. Broadcasting is a method in which the seeds are scattered in the field manually. That is by hand. Whereas seed drill is a long iron pipe having a funnel at the top. It is tied at the back of the plow. That is, at the back of the plow, we are tying it. That is, this is your funnel and that is a long tube. A farmer does plowing and simultaneously release seeds from the funnel. Seed thus released through this iron pipe to the soil furrows which are formed by the plow. So this method, we are having two methods, broadcasting and seed drill. Some crops, they are not directly sown into the field. Not directly sown into the field. First, they are grown in the nurseries. Nurseries are the small plot where they are grown, and when they form the tiny plants, that is seedlings, they are transferred to the main field. This process is known as transplantation method. It is done in the case of paddy, tomato, chilies. Now, why they are being put in the nursery, planted in the nursery and then to the main field? What are their advantages? Advantages of transplantation is that it enables the farmer to select and cultivate only healthy plants. unhealthy plants are discarded. It also ensures uniform availability of sunlight, water, and nutrients to the plants. There is an exception like paddy you are having, that is your rice. The seedlings are planted, that is tiny plants are planted in the standing water, that is they require more water. In standing water, and they are planted at appropriate distances. Number third agriculture practices is manuring. The first one was preparation of the soil. The second one was sowing. Number third is manuring. That is, we all know that the soil supplies mineral nutrients to the crop plants. Continuous cultivation of the crops makes the soil poor in the nutrients. To replenish the soil fertility, to refill the fertility of the soil, some methods are being used. The methods are, number one is field fallow. In this, the land is left uncultivated by the farmer for one or more seasons. Normally this is not practiced in our country, less practiced because the farmers are not very rich. So dead animals and the plants, they accumulate. Dead animals and plants, they accumulate on the land, and they are decomposed by the microbes. They are acted upon by the microbes or the microorganisms, one and the same thing. In this way, the nutrients are refilled or replenished. Replenishment of the soil. Number one is field fallow. Number two is crop rotation. It is done by growing different crops alternatively. Some crops like wheat, rice, they use lot of nitrogen from the soil, and this nitrogen can be easily replenished in the soil by growing leguminous crop in between the two cereal crops. Two cereal crops, in between them we grow the leguminous crop. In the previous class, we have studied about rhizobium bacteria, that is nitrogen fixing bacteria. They are present in the roots of the leguminous plants. These are the nodules, and in these nodules we have the nitrogen fixing bacteria. They fix the atmospheric nitrogen. Atmospheric nitrogen, the nitrogen present in the atmosphere, and they convert it into nitrates. That is usable form of nitrogen which can be used. The third method of replenishment of soil is manuring, or by adding manures. We all know that manure is an organic substance which is obtained by the decomposition of plants or animal waste. Farmers dump plant and animal waste in the pits at open places and allow it to decompose by the microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. The decomposed organic matter which is put in the pit, it is used as an organic manure. It not only increases the fertility of the soil, but also increases the water holding capacity of the soil. If manure is more, the water holding capacity of the soil is also more. The next is fertilizers. That is by adding fertilizers. Fertilizers, they are the chemicals, they are not natural. They are the chemicals which are rich in particular nutrient. Example, you have urea, superphosphate. The difference between manure and fertilizer manure is a natural substance obtained by the decomposition of cattle dung and plant residue, that is the waste. Whereas fertilizer is man-made inorganic salt. Manure can be prepared in the fields. They are prepared in the factories. Manure and fertilizer. Manure provide lot of humus to the soil, whereas fertilizer does not provide humus to the soil. Manure is relatively less rich in plant nutrients, whereas fertilizers are very rich in plant nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Fertilizers are specific in action, that is, if a plant is deficient in nitrogen, we are using the nitrogenous fertilizer. If any soil is deficient in phosphorus, we are providing the phosphatic fertilizer. Now, we are having advantages of manure. That is, manure is considered better than the fertilizers. Why? Manure enhances the water holding capacity of the soil. That is, it increases the water holding capacity of the soil. It increases the number of friendly microorganisms which are useful for the plants. It makes the soil porous, due to which exchange of gases become easy. It improves the texture of the soil. The next agriculture practice is irrigation. As we all know that water is very important for the growth and development of the plants. We also know that germination of the seed does not take place under dry conditions. We have studied in the previous classes also. So, the supply of water to the plants in the field is called irrigation. The sources of irrigation are wells, tube wells, ponds, lakes, etc. Different plants, they are requiring water at the different stages of their development. For example, paddy, as we have studied earlier, they are transplanted in standing water and they require constant irrigation. That is, frequently the water is required. Whereas wheat, irrigation is needed before plowing or tilling and at the time of flowering also. The irrigation is needed in the case of the wheat. 2-3 days back, you must have seen the strong winds. So nowadays we are having the grains are at the maturation stage. The untimely rains and the strong winds, they result in the falling down of crop plants at the grain maturation stage. This is known as lodging. It is affecting adversely the quality and yield of the grains, production of the grains. It is adversely affecting the quality and the yield of the grains. Sometimes you must have seen that if you give excessive supply of water, more supply of water you give to the plant, what happens? Your plants die. Why do they die? Excessive supply of water, it reduces the air in the soil spaces. This is known as waterlogging. As the air is less in the soil spaces, the roots get damaged and the plants die. The next agriculture practice is crop protection, which we'll be doing in the next video.